This video is sponsored by Soundcore. The Soundcore C40i clip-on earbuds have arrived, and I've been testing these for a few weeks, and I'm here to tell you all about my experience with these open earbuds. Now, links to everything mentioned in the video will be down in the video description, so let's not waste any time. So first, let's start with that Bluetooth connection. So the Soundcore C40i are running Bluetooth 5.4 with SBC and AAC as their connection codecs. That makes these fully compatible with both Android and iOS devices in my personal testing. Pairing is quick and seamless. There's a pairing button on the bottom of the charging case, but you can also trigger pairing without the charging case by long pressing both earbuds for 3 seconds. The C40i also feature multi-point connectivity for up to 2 devices, and this feature works perfectly fine in my testing across both mobile operating systems. Whether paired to one of my iPads or one of my Android phones, works perfectly fine. These also feature single usage mode for those who prefer using a single earbud at a time, and this feature again works seamlessly with no pausing or hiccups when switching between the earbuds. Now when it comes to Bluetooth range, the range I got here was about 41 feet or just about 12.5 meters. Now obviously range will be reduced depending on how many walls or obstructions you put in between the earbuds and the device that they are connected to. So now let's move over to watching videos and mobile gaming. So the Soundcore C40i have minimal latency when watching video or when playing games. Apps like YouTube, Netflix, and TikTok work perfectly fine, so no issues there. When it comes to mobile gaming, there is a little bit of minimal lag here. Nothing too crazy, but it is slightly noticeable. It's going to be perfectly fine for like 99% of casual gamers, not going to be a problem. Sadly, there is no low latency or gaming mode here, so just something for you to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to the earbuds themselves, the C40i are still using that open ear clip-on design introduced by the previous model, the C30i. Much like the older version, the C40i are still using a very similar shape while being just slightly larger to my eye. It could just be me misinterpreting things, but they just look just ever so slightly bigger. But that being said, the main game changer with the C40i is the improved comfort with the addition of flexible joints, making them more compatible with a wider range of ear shapes compared to the C30i. Now, my own personal complaint that I had with the old version was their rigid design. As you see, I have large ears, and the C30i caused me major discomfort after like 15 to 20 minutes of use. This is what made them very difficult for me to recommend to people when they asked me about them if they had larger ears like my own. Now, this new version is much more comfortable for my larger ears, so the flexible joints are a very welcome addition for me personally. Now, obviously people are going to ask whether or not these are going to be good for sports or for workouts, and the answer will depend on your ear shape. For me, these stay put regardless of movement or body position. So whether I'm walking, whether I'm sitting, whether I'm laying down, they stay exactly where I place them. Now, if you have smaller ears or notice them feeling loose, Soundcore also includes 2 sizes of ear grips in the box that can help provide a tighter fit. Additionally, the C40i also feature an IPX4 rating. Not the best in my opinion, but still good enough for workouts and for light splashes. But I would avoid showers or submerging these in water if you can avoid it. Now, a question that always comes up is whether or not these earbuds are going to be good for sleep. Now, this is another one where user experience may vary. For me, the C40i actually work well for back sleep, but side sleep was a no-go for me as these have too much bulk behind my ear to allow me to lay on them comfortably in a side sleep position. Better to use something like the Soundcore Sleep A20 earbuds for that purpose. So now let's talk about controls. The C40i have switched away from touch controls and now feature simple buttons. Normally this would sound like a downgrade, but in this case, on this type of earbud, buttons simply work so much better during daily use. One issue I had with the old version was that the touch panels would get triggered whenever the earbuds would contact the scalp behind my ears. With button controls, this is no longer a problem. With the C40i, you get a single button on each side, and they can handle single, double, and long press. You can do anything from track controls, volume controls, play pause, answer and phone calls, and access your voice assistant. All of these controls can be customized or completely shut off in the Soundcore app. The buttons themselves are very tactile and clicky, easy to use, easy to learn, and easy to remember. So now let's move over to the Soundcore app, and you do get access to the Soundcore app with the Soundcore C40i. Now the app is available on both iOS and Android devices. Now when you open up the app, you're going to see the battery life for the buds and the case. Right here you see sound effects, and you get 5 options here. You get Soundcore Signature, Bass, Volume Booster, 3D Surround Sound, and a custom EQ. Below this you get the controls, and this allows full adjustments for both left and right side, plus an on and off toggle to shut off controls if you want to do that. Below this you get dual connections, and this is basically your multi-point controls. Now jumping out of here, you get the low battery prompt, you get firmware update, and serial number. Overall, the app support is solid as expected from Soundcore. The app experience is minimal since these earbuds don't have a bunch of advanced features like noise cancellation, transparency, and all that other stuff. Now, despite this, I still recommend getting the app to ensure you're on the latest firmware and to adjust the sound quality to your personal preference. So now let's talk about the performance of the C40i. So let's start with the battery life. Now, Soundcore claims 7 hours plus an additional 14 hours or 2 charges in the charging case for up to 21 hours total combined. Now, these are usually best case scenario situations, so I went ahead and tested these claims for myself. In my testing, I managed to get 7 hours and 11 minutes with the AAC codec. Now, this was using the Soundcore Signature EQ at 75% volume. Overall, this is excellent battery life in my personal opinion. Obviously, volume level and EQ choice will affect that battery life. Higher volume equals less battery. When I tested these with the volume booster EQ, that battery life was dropped down to around 6.5 hours. But even then, still good battery life. Now, as far as charging the case itself, it does come via USB-C. Sadly, there is no wireless charging with the C40i. So now let's jump into the volume. So getting this measurement was a little bit difficult due to the style of these earbuds and the way that they're shaped. Now, Soundcore in their paperwork, they were claiming 80 plus decibels of volume with these guys. In my testing, I managed to get 109.4 decibels with the volume boost EQ and 98.8 decibels with the signature EQ. Just to say, to my own ears, despite these numbers, these do get seriously loud. Plenty of sound leakage though, above 60% volume. That's something you always want to keep in mind. If you're somebody who's worried about what other people hearing what you're listening to or what you're watching, then open earbuds, probably not a good choice for you. But otherwise, there's plenty of volume to be had here, all things considered. So now let's jump into the sound quality. But before we do that, if you're getting any value out of this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me. It's completely free for you and it helps my channel greatly. Thank you. Now back to the sound. Since the C40i are using this clip-on design, the sound quality experience can vary wildly due to positioning as well as ear shape. For instance, if I pull my ears forward like this, the sound becomes much more rich and bassy. Held like this, these are some of the best sounding open earbuds I've ever tested, but I don't hold my ears like that while I'm wearing them. In their natural position on my ears, the sound is still solid in my opinion, open and clean. The C40i got upgraded drivers this time around. They're using 12mm by 17mm racetrack dynamic drivers. Now, racetrack meaning oval shaped as opposed to the standard circular drivers they normally would use. You also get 5 sound EQ options. You get Soundcore Signature, Bass, Volume Booster, 3D Surround, and a custom EQ. I prefer to keep mine on the Volume Booster EQ, obviously for higher volume levels. Still keeps the sound well balanced in my opinion. Signature and Bass just didn't really do it for me. Same with the custom EQ. No matter how I adjusted them, I couldn't get them to sound better than the Volume Boost EQ. Then lastly, we have the 3D surround. Not sure how this got messed up on my version. It worked decently well on the Soundcore C30i, but with this new model, it sounds low and muffled when it should sound artificially open and spacious, the way, 3D surround, spatial audio type of sound should sound. It could be that maybe I received a bad sample, but I can't say that for sure as I only have one sample to work with, and I can only speak based on my personal experience with the sample that was provided. So personally, I would stick to the other EQ modes for best results. So now let's break down the bass, mids, and treble. For bass, the bass is there. That's the best way that I can say it. You can hear it, but you don't truly feel it in the way you do with sealed earbuds or over-ear headphones. That said, it's still decent for open design earbuds. If your ears are the right shape, these might actually bang very nicely. As I mentioned before, if I hold my ears forward like this, the bass has really good kick. So bass performance can potentially be much better depending on your ears. Mileage will inevitably vary. Now, one of the test tracks I used for testing bass response was the Bad Name remix by Gangstar featuring Redman and Method Man. Now, this is a real deal boom bap beat with a solid kick and a warm bass line that allows the C40 to shine. If you don't have this track and you're a hip hop head, what are you doing with your life? Like, for real, what are you doing? Now, let's move over to the mid-range. So the mids are on the neutral side with a lean towards a warmer sound. Again, the ear shape and position will cause mileage to vary. For me, it's still pleasing to listen to. Instruments still sound decent, and vocals come in clean for both male and female voices. Now, one of the test tracks that highlights the strengths of the mid-range is Rain by the Teskey Brothers. The live band recording combined with the raspy vocals are truly exceptional. Dude legit reminds me of Otis Redding or like Sam Cooke or some sort of mishmash of both. If you love soulful music, definitely give this song a listen. you won't be disappointed. Now moving over to the treble. Treble is good in my opinion, if a bit on the darker side. So not dark, but just slightly on the darker side. I tried boosting it with EQ, but these simply didn't respond well to my adjustments. On a good note, the C40i are never harsh or sibilant. They always remain clear despite the song choice. Whether it's classical or hip-hop or reggae or jazz or metal, the sound always comes in crisp and clear. Now, the test track that I used for this was Waiting in Vain by Bob Marley. Now, this is a classic reggae track that really doesn't need any introduction, but it needs to be in everyone's playlist. Now, one last thing I will mention about sound quality is that it does change based on volume level. So when we're keeping it under 60% volume, you're getting a much more full sound. But as that volume increases, you'll start noticing that like the bass gets kind of pulled up a little bit. So there is EQ changing as the volume increases, and it's probably to keep it from it's probably to help avoid distortion in the sound. Most likely we see the same kind of a thing with like Bluetooth speakers. Some of them, as you get really loud, you'll notice that the bass kind of gets reduced. So this is something to keep in mind, that this is something I'm hearing here with the C40i as well. So just wanted to bring that up. Now when it comes to any constructive criticism, first and foremost, like I said, it could be that maybe I received a faulty unit, but that 3D surround definitely sounded sketchy. Maybe it's something that could be fixed via firmware update, not sure. The lack of wireless charging at 99 bucks, not a deal breaker for me personally, but I've heard from plenty of my viewers who absolutely need to have wireless charging on their earbuds at that $100 price point. Third, there's no gaming or low latency mode. I think that would have been kind of a cool addition to have here, especially considering these have Bluetooth 5.4, but sadly, it's not here. And then lastly, an IPX4 rating. While these earbuds could be an excellent option for people for gym use and sports use, an IPX4 rating is a bit on the low side. It still gets the job done, but it would have been better to see maybe like an IP56 or something a little bit better, just to make sure that these are truly, sweat proof. But that's just me. Now, one of the questions that I know will inevitably come up is, are these better than the Soundcore C30i? Yes. The biggest difference are going to be sound, comfort, and the controls. All three are improved with the C40i. The only things better on the old model are the longer battery life and the 3D surround mode that works a little bit better on the older model versus the newer model. But if I had to choose between these two, I'm choosing the C40i all day long. So now let's go ahead and jump into some mic samples. For those who like to take phone calls with their earbuds, I'll be doing both quiet and crowd noise tests so you can hear how they perform under different conditions. I'll also throw in the old model, the C30i, the new Soundcore Aerofit 2, the Nothing Ear Open, and the AirPods 4 for a good comparison with other open earbud types. All right, so here we have the microphone sample for the Soundcore C40i. So testing, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, once again, I'm indoors in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, and here we have the microphone test for the Soundcore C30i. So testing, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, once again, I'm indoors in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, here we have the microphone sample for the Soundcore Aerofit 2. So testing, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, once again, I'm indoors in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, and here we have the microphone sample for the Nothing Ear Open. So testing, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, once again, I'm indoors in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, and here we have the microphone test for the Apple AirPods 4. So testing, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, once again, I'm indoors in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the microphone sample for the Soundcore C40i in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a busy bar, a crowded restaurant, or something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the microphone test for the Soundcore C30i in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a busy bar, a crowded restaurant, or something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the Soundcore Aerofit 2 in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a busy bar, a crowded restaurant, or something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the Nothing Ear Open in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a busy bar, a crowded restaurant, or something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the Apple AirPods 4 in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a busy bar, a crowded restaurant, or something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. Now, with all of that out of the way, and for full disclosure, this video was sponsored by Soundcore. Despite this, they received no rights for copy or script approval and were not allowed to see this video prior to it being published. Soundcore is also not allowed to control my opinions on their products. I'm allowed to say how I truly feel in my videos. Had they attempted to sway my opinions, I would not have accepted a long-term partnership with them. I'm telling you all of this because I believe in transparency and honesty with you as the viewer. There will undoubtedly be other sponsored videos on the Soundcore C40i, but not everyone is willing to disclose that as openly as I am. As always, please be sure to watch multiple reviews before making your final purchase decision. Now, if you're interested in seeing my review of my favorite Soundcore earbuds right now, check out the video that I'm gonna leave for you right up here on the screen. With all that said, my name is Jefe, and I'm out.